Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors. Today, my guest is Mr. Paul Jenkins, who's the founder of the Pack Hub. How are you, Paul?
I'm very good and really excited to be talking to you today.
Thank you so much for making time. I'm really impressed by your company and your organization, and I'm excited to learn about your background. Kind of how'd you get into this great world of sustainable packaging?
Well, it's like a lot of people, my journey was not a typical sort of packaging background, really. I started off at a reasonably long career in brand marketing
Oh,
for
wow.
a consumer goods company, and that role included a lot of packaging work. So I kind of had a passion for that element of the marketing mix. And when I left that business and wanted to get into consultancies, this was about 10 years ago. And, it wasn't a sort of an immediate thing. Over time, sort of the Pack Hub evolved into something that we felt we could offer, a good level of service and products to it. So that was about 10 or 11 years ago. And hopefully, I don't think I've looked back. I love packaging and all it stands for. And obviously, sustainability is a major part of that.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's so common. On this podcast, so many times people say, well, I kind of fell into packaging. Oh, I didn't really mean to get into packaging. and then they stay for their whole career.
Yes.
It's such an interesting world we are in here. So what is the Pack Hub? Can you tell the audience what it is that you do?
Yeah, so we've been in existence for, I think it's 10 years this month, actually. So we're a packaging innovation consultancy. So we're just really interested in helping brands, retailers, packaging suppliers, other consultants, agencies, universities, whatever they might be, anyone that's interested in sort of improving their packaging, changing their packaging, reducing their environmental footprint, whatever it might be. We have got a range of services, I guess, that can help them move forward.
That's wonderful. And is that an innovation zone? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so we've got four products. As a consultancy, conventionally we do project work and packaging projects, as you would expect. We do events and webinars. Not so many face-to-face events over the last couple of years for obvious reasons, but
Sure.
We're looking forward to getting back out there. Hopefully this calendar year, as things start to settle down from a COVID point of view. We do reports. So most recently we did a global packaging trends compendium, and we've done a report on refillable and reusable packaging and sustainability and things like that.
Oh, wow.
But I guess, the company's sort of heartbeat, if you like, is this innovation zone packaging platform. So for the last 6 years or so, we've been collating all the latest packaging innovation. We're now up to about 25 new initiatives a week.
Wow.
They're from around the world, and what we do, we just write about them. So they're on a database, and you can do various searches. So if you're looking for specific around refillable solutions, you just do a quick search, and it'll come up with obviously all the returnable and refillable solutions. And sustainability is almost a byword for the innovation zone, because over the last 2 or 3 years, 80-90% of the initiatives we're tracking are to do with sustainability. So we've got about 5,600 initiatives on there, and a number of brands and retailers and suppliers that are subscribers, members of the tool, so they have access. And they get other things like email updates and reports and webinars and things like that. So it really is the business's sort of epicenter, if you like. Everything we do, the reports, the webinars, and the consultancy work, all sort of emanate from this understanding of the latest trends. But by writing all these innovations, by default, we really know what's going on, from a global basis. So we've really seen the change in sustainable focus over the last 4 or 5 years. And when we first started taking on projects, the brief might be, we want to deliver great shelf impact, or we want to deliver an on-the-go pack. We want to deliver, better, for example. And then you'd say, well, what about sustainability? Oh yeah, it needs to be sustainable. That's a given. Whereas now they're saying, I want a sustainable pack.
Right.
And the other things are a byproduct of it. So,
in
fact, one of my colleagues described me, or no, a friend of mine was describing my company, and he said, you've got to speak to Paul. He's the sustainability guy. Yeah. 3 years ago, it would have been, he's the packaging guy. So it's almost that the two words are a byproduct of each other, which I think is important and positive for the packaging industry, because we do have a good role to play to, do the right thing for the world in terms of reducing, the impact that it has.
That's so true. Yeah, I used to be the box guy, Cory Gated. That was my nickname. But now I'm the sustainability guy because that's the focus and it's what everybody wants to talk about. It's the demand is there to learn about it, to educate about it. That's why this podcast is really taken off. It's exciting to be a part of it. So can you talk about a couple of key elements of sustainable packaging that the audience can learn from? A couple things that you think this is really a key to the future of sustainable packaging.
Yeah, I think the first thing is to really understand what you're trying to achieve. Some ways are clearly better than others in terms of, pack choices, but, often no one route is better than the other. It kind of is depending on what you're measuring. So I think that's the first thing to consider is your strategy, a carbon footprint reduction initiative? Is it a circular economy? Is it about recycling? Is it about material reduction? So that's the first thing we always speak to our clients about, our customers about, is what is it you're actually trying to achieve? What are your objectives?
Yes.
So I think that is often and it's not an exact science, sustainable packaging. Sustainability is an art form, isn't it? And you pre this talk, we were talking about LinkedIn, and you see the conversations that go on that social media channel and the pros and cons over a particular format, because you can make arguments for most materials from a positive and negative point of view. So I think that's one of the things to say, is that it often isn't an exact science, although we're increasingly seeing supported data and statistics to support a particular route over another, and that's important, because I guess the other thing I would mention is around that whole question you asked is this growing beast that is greenwashing, and the challenges we all have to avoid that area, because there are businesses out there that will do what they think what they're doing is not necessarily the best for the environment, but there is a soundbite or a hook that means that they might sell more product. And consumers don't have perfect knowledge. They're not, by nature, they're not sustainability experts, they're not packaging experts, and they might make packaging choices based on what they perceive to be the best for the environment. So I think we all have a responsibility to try and avoid and reduce and understand and call out greenwashing if we possibly can.
Yeah, that is so true. Consumers are confused, and I think oftentimes it's intentional. And that's really sad. I think the onset of extended producer responsibility is going to fight that. And things like the plastic tax in the UK and things like Truth in Labeling Act in California, these things are going to make it so companies can't do that anymore. You can't put a triangle around a number 7 and make consumers think that it's recyclable. It's not. It's not going to get recycled. Just say what it is. It's okay. It's okay your packaging is landfill. That's okay. But the worst thing you can do is make people think it's recyclable when it's not. That is inappropriate.
Or say nothing. That's the other thing that you often get. And I scrutinize every pack that we buy as a packaging professional. And I know you do it as well. And I read the back of the pack, and I think this pack isn't recyclable. And then it's evident by the lack of communication. Just tell me it's not recyclable. Yeah. And you're working on a new solution. That is an acceptable thing to do. But to just not mention it, and then consumers might actually put it in their curbside collection because they're thinking, well, it might be, that sort of wishful thinking.
Wish cycling,
wish cycling, exactly. Yes, I knew there was an expression for that. I didn't know what it was, but so I just think more can be done really to greenwashing is overt stuff, but it's also what you don't say as well, I guess.
Well, that's a great point. It's the lack of information. It's well, we just didn't say anything. Well, that's not a solution. That doesn't help anybody. Come on, let's just be upfront with us. That's how you build trust with your consumers, is be upfront and honest. And I think that's what we need to demand from manufacturers of products, in my opinion. So a couple questions for you here. Do you feel like the future of sustainable packaging is more recyclable product or more compostable product, or is there a home for both?
There is a home for both. Recyclability is winning that battle at the moment by a factor of 100/1, I think.
Yeah.
You mentioned the plastic tax, and we've got the plastic packs around the world, which is threefold, which is 100% recyclable.
Yeah.
It does include compostable and reusable, but the main focus, from all these brands and retailers and suppliers, is to improve the recyclability and increased recycled content. So that is really the focus of all the innovations that we track on our innovations and platform. The majority, that's the biggest area, recyclability and recycled content. There's all sorts of challenges around compostable packaging, in terms of consumer education. Again, we go back to what's on the pack,
right.
and greenwashing for compostable packaging is probably the most evident and worst area. You've got a whole issue around consumers not having the capability to compost their packaging.
Right. What do they do with it?
Has a nice garden with what would they do with it? I presented to some French students about 3 or 4 years ago. We went through the whole sustainability journey, and we've gone on to compostable packaging. And I guess for a lot of them, it was a new thing. They hadn't really thought about it before, and they thought it was a fantastic. What a great idea! What is not to like about something that breaks down and can, be used in soil and whatever. And then I asked them, how many of you live, where do you live? Oh, most of them, good being students, lived in flats. So they weren't in a position where they could do anything with that material anyway. So it's interesting to see how that works. And it's a chicken and the egg, because we don't have the infrastructure in many markets to deal with compostable packaging.
Right.
It isn't being developed. And, the retailers in the UK have banned the material on their list of, acceptable substrates. So,
I didn't know that.
So I think, there is definitely a future for compostable packaging, but I think recyclability is something that is happening now and will continue to develop. And you can't talk about sustainability and just consider recyclability and compostability.
Right.
You've got reusable packaging, and even things like packaging free and reduced packaging format, which are also an important part of the
refill.
Reuse.
Just did a post about Loop packaging. They've launched here in Portland, Oregon area where I live, and they launched in 25 local Fred Meyer stores, which is a grocery store, and reusable packaging. It's you pay a deposit on the package, you bring it back to the store when it's empty, you put it back in, and then you get a credit back for that. It's a great concept.
It's a great concept. And what I like about, they've evolved that concept, because initially it was launched as an online initiative, and by having that where you can take back the packaging in store and effectively pick up another reusable pack, it's not the same one. You're not doing the refilling in store. And I just think that reduces the complexity, speeds up the process, because shoppers have had convenience shoved down their throats for many years, and anything that slows them down and makes it more difficult is going to be a challenge. So I love that Loop scheme. And I know that in the UK, they've got some Tesco stores. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be environmentally friendly to try and go to them because they're too far away for me. But I'm looking forward to hopefully my local store implementing the Loop scheme, and I will certainly be giving it a try.
Yeah, that's a good thing to think about too, is, if you have to drive for 2 hours, that doesn't make it sustainable. That's something to consider when you're talking about sustainability, is freight or transport or location. And I often mention that when I'm talking to customers, where are we buying this? If you have to import it from India and send it to Ohio and then back to Florida and then to Texas, that's maybe not the right choice today.
Absolutely. We had an example on our in France of a tool company called Stihl, I think, STIHL, and they packed their products in hay, which is obviously compostable, effectively reusable, could be used for animal bedding and stuff like that. But what I particularly liked about it is that they sourced the hay from a farm that was just 10 kilometers from their facilities. So from a carbon footprint impact in terms of getting it delivered, perfect. And what is not to like about that? I mean, I just tick so many boxes. So, you're absolutely right. The transportation in the past has been overlooked, and shipping things from around the world doesn't help you if you're trying to reduce your impact.
Yeah, it's an important thing to think about. There's so much to learn. I had someone ask, I do a LinkedIn audio live event every Wednesday. I hope you could join us sometime, Paul. It's 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
6 p.m. my time. I listened in last time.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And they said, what's the most sustainable material? And I said, well, that depends. And that's always the answer. And if it isn't the answer, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Because there's so many variables. There's so many things to consider. It's an art form, like you said.
And in one market, product A may be the best pack format, and in another market with a different curbside recycling infrastructure, different recycling rates, and all those kind of factors means that another pack format might be more suitable. So absolutely, there's no one answer, unfortunately.
So what was a project that you did that really you felt like, wow, this was really a sustainable impact? Can you think of a project that really sticks with you?
Yeah, I think now I'm going to say nowadays, every project has a sustain. You cannot deliver a project that doesn't move you and your client forward from a sustainability point of view. We've run a number of sustainability workshops over recent times. The purpose of it is to educate the audience as to what the opportunities and where they can improve, and that always moves the game forward. And they give me a tremendous amount of satisfaction, because they've asked us to do it because they want to move forward. And you're making a flying start in terms of helping them sort of set out what they need to do to make that a reality. So I think some of the sustainability projects that we've done, the workshops that we've done online now, they used to be face-to-face. That's better for the environment as well. I think so efficient to do a workshop online. It's very tiring, but 1 minute past the 1 minute past the finishing time, and you're at home, and there's no driving and traffic or getting a train or anything like that. So that works nicely. So I would say that really every project has an impact, but some of the workshops where they come to us to get help, and I think that's where we've made real quick advances for them.
That's excellent. Sounds like you're building a real community there of sustainable minded companies. So well done. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Well, what's the best way to get in touch with you, Paul? Is your website or email?
Yeah, so thepackhub.com, and that will take you to our homepage, and you can contact me directly there at paul@thepackhub.com. You can also, we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So in any of those channels, just search The Pack Hub, and you'll find us pretty quickly, hopefully.
Excellent. I'd like to thank Landsberg Aurora for sponsoring this podcast and your support. If you're listening, please take a minute to give us a review and make sure you're subscribed so you get notifications of the next episode. Thank you so much, Paul. We really appreciate this.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.